Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Now today I'm going to be doing my review on the Turkish film Biaz, Kara, Iyenin, Laneti. I don't know if I'm saying that right, and if I'm not, I'm so sorry, but it's translated to Biaz, The Curse of the Dark Ones. A synopsis of this film: four university students summon an ancient spirit from a different dimension with a notebook they found. It's almost like a Ouija board notebook sort of thing, but they will soon realize that their own lives are in grave danger, you guys. So I'm going to be giving you my positives of the film, my negatives, and then I am going to be spoiling this film. So make sure you're checking it out now. I have all the links down in the description, but for now, let's get into the positives. So some of the positives, the group of friends seems really genuine. It seems like they're all a really good group of friends. They hang out, they act silly together, they do all the things that real friends do, and they do it very convincingly. Nothing really seems forced about them. And they tie this into the short film A Day, which we did a review on earlier. You could check that out down in the description now. And to see that the full-length feature that is connected to that, we both thought that was a pretty cool way that they tied those in together. There's a lot of cool shots, like over the head shots of the friends, like having their hands on the Ouija board when they're moving that around. The acting is really great. You could feel the emotions, especially when they're scared. You can feel the fear. It comes right through to you. And it's really good when a film, especially an indie film like this, can really portray that type of emotion. The symbols. There's a lot of really creepy imagery with symbols that was done really, really well. It kind of makes you feel ugh at certain times. And Biaz looks creepy. He looks great, looks creepy as hell. Very, very scary villain. So without being spoilery, those are the positives that I have. Like I said, the acting is great and a lot of the practical effects look really good. But let's get into the negatives of Biaz. Well, it is a foreign film, like I talked about earlier, so if you can't do foreign films and you can't do subtitles, this might be a hard watch for you. Another thing that really drove me nuts is there's a lot of jump scares and a lot of horror tropes, like slow moments that build into nothing, repetitive beats going from character to character, experiencing the same things, lights flashing, things moving on their own. You have people that are seeing things that aren't there. They wake up, was it a dream? Was it real? So it really does rely a lot on cheap jump scares. And horror tropes that are really tired, in my opinion. I look and there's nothing there. I look back, but then I look and it's there again. Things like that. So it really does get kind of after a little bit when you're seeing these same things happen over and over repeatedly. And honestly, we could have used some more on-screen kills. In a movie like this especially, I feel like what they did do practice, and I'm going to talk about a lot of this in the spoilers, I feel like if they could have done that with some of the kills, it could have really amplified what they were doing here instead of doing some of the kills off-screen the way they did. So being spoiler-free, those are my negatives. Now guys, we are going to get into the spoiler, so if you haven't, make sure you're watching Biaz and ranking it for yourself. Those links are in the description, but for now, let's get into the spoilers. Alright guys, I am going to be spoiling the film now, and here's a spoiler. I don't speak Turkish, so if I mispronounce these names, please understand, it's not out of disrespect, it's out of pure ignorance of myself and not being able to do the translations very well. So I wanted to start that off by saying that. But now let's spoil the film. It starts out with the friends, you know, they're playing with a Ouija board type, but it comes with like daggers, candles, and a book. They summon a demon right away named Biaz, and he lets them know pretty quickly that that's his name through the Ouija board. Iyenin pours water to take a drink, but it turns into blood. She drinks it, she's possessed by Biaz, and he strangles her. But then it flashes back, she's actually strangling herself in the kitchen. And it's moments like that that I think they overdid a little bit. When you see her pouring the water, it turns to blood, you're like, oh, that was pretty cool. But then, you know, she gets possessed and then she's not possessed, you know, and it's just like, But one part that I did think was great is Biaz, which is, it's funny to say it like this, but like he calls into the radio station and a screen that Iyenin's work, because she works there, And he's on the screen. It's one of the scariest moments of the film. Like, this was a moment where I was really like, ooh, damn. Like, this is intense. So the radio station, it's just funny to me that like a ghost, like, what's the number for the radio station? Like, calling in. Like, I thought that was pretty funny. Batu, another part that really bothered me, he ends up strapped to a table with his mouth propped open, and Biaz starts pulling his tooth out. And then, of course, it's just a vision. He stands up and is like, oh my God, it wasn't real, but his tooth falls out. So that was another moment where I was like, oh my gosh, teeth, eyes really bothers me. This moment, I was like, holy shit, like they went there. Like they really went there. And when he was pulling his tooth out, I thought that this was gonna be his death scene. It wasn't, but still very scary when that tooth ends up falling out. Aisha, I think it is taken by Biaz and killed off screen, and then found the next day on the sidewalk. Like Biaz had thrown her off the roof down onto because they're at like a school. It's like a college. So it's like he threw her off the roof of the university, and she's found on the sidewalk by the medics, and then her friends walk up and see this whole thing. Then they actually find someone that survived Biaz. And again, I'm sorry, Ms. Zeynep. And they go to her for help. And she tells them, like, you got to perform the return ritual, use the dagger to send Biaz back, and she gives them a talisman for protection. She kind of seems crazy. Like, she kind of seems like really off-kilter, really nuts, really insane. But she talks about she's had to see and do evil, scary, terrifying things. Badahan sees Ika in the parking garage, but it's just a hallucination. As he's walking towards her, he gets hit and killed by a car. And that's another sad moment where he's like, wait a minute, is this really her? Is this a spirit? And then boom, he's hit by a car out of nowhere. Sank and Yida perform a ritual, and it seems like they beat him. They're like, we're done. We beat him. It's over. And then it's not. It is not. Biaz shows up and ends up breaking Sank's neck. So 3 of our 4 main protagonists are dead at this time. Yida is strangled to death, but she's brought back. So essentially, they've beaten the curse of Biaz because she died and was brought back, which is the same thing that happened to Miss Zeynep. So you're like, okay, so the movie ends with the same way Miss Zeynep, she died, she was brought back, and that's how she was able. And she's like, you can't beat Biaz, you have to die. That's the only way to do it. So essentially, Yida does survive. And, we're like, okay, cool. At least one of our, protagonists survived. We're going to end on a positive note. That's awesome. But the movie ends with some new people going to Yida asking her for help the same way that they did with Ms. Zeynep. So it's one of those things where the Ouija board, the book, the dagger, the candles, they all got put to someone else, and they're going to visit her like, hey, we were in the situation that you were in. And I honestly think this is a great ending to this movie because, in my opinion, this shows that we're kind of in a loop. You can't defeat evil, especially an evil of this caliber. So this movie, I'll give it a 2 out of 5. And I'm not saying that in a negative way. I think that what it lacks in kills and scares, like genuine scares, it makes up for with, because I think the jump scares are cheap. I'm not a big fan of jump scares, and you guys know that, but the tooth scene, the radio station scene, those are both very, very tense, nervous scenes. And this is a very young cast and crew when it comes to filmmaking, and for them to do what they did, I think is amazing. They made a film. They made a film that it's watchable. I was never bored. I was never watching the clock. So I did enjoy the film, and I would strongly recommend you guys checking it out for yourself. Like I said, the links for that are down in the description. Let me know in the comments, what did you think of Biaz? Do you think that this was the right ending for this movie? I know that there's been some arguments of maybe she should have died and that would have beaten Biaz for good. Should she, could that have been a way that they could have gone? They didn't have a survivor, so Biaz was essentially destroyed, but if someone else played the game, he would come back anyway. So I don't really think there's a way to defeat Biaz altogether. But let me know in the comments what you guys thought. I'd love to hear that. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. It does help build the channel more than you know. And follow Sledgehammer Horror on social media. Those links are in the description as well. But until next time, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.